Hey guys, Freddy here. Welcome back to another modern magazine thing. Because this time I'm going to have a look at Dungeons & Dragons Adventurer issue number 32. Now, as I've mentioned before, I don't actually intend to pick these up. But I went down to my local shop, as I have done on so many previous occasions, and it was sitting on the shelf there. And when I find a copy of a role-playing magazine on a shop shelf 100 yards from my house, the place I go for bread and milk, I'm going to pick it up. But this issue wasn't hiding behind anything, as I found previous issues. The last issue before this, issue 30, I found hiding behind a Thomas the Tank Engine comic on the kids' shelf. This one was sitting out, and it was sitting along with a magazine called Miniature Wargamer, another one called Tabletop Gaming. So I'm guessing either somebody in the shop is a bit of a role player and a tabletop gamer, or somebody is ordering these in and asking the shop to reserve them for them. And I'm ending up with extra copies, or when they don't pick theirs up, I'm getting it. Whichever way it is, I'm happy. I quite like picking stuff up, even though this magazine is pretty expensive for what it is. $8.99 to £9 for a very thin magazine and whatever the gift is this month, or this fortnight I think it comes out. But I'm more than happy to pick up some gaming stuff locally. But anyway, let's go over and have a look at Dungeons & Dragons Adventurer issue number 32. So, this is issue 32 of Dungeons & Dragons Adventurer. Let's chuck the bag to the side, because it's all reflecty. And the gift this week is another set of dice. Now, we're getting a bit bored with dice, I'll be honest. It'd be nice to be getting something else. But I have to admit, I actually really like this set. They're in the metal tin, if I can get into them, because they're protected by a piece of plastic. That was tough to get out of the way. And I really quite like the colour of these ones. They're clear plastic swirled in with the same sort of colour marbled plastic. I really like the effect. I think these are quite pleasant. Full 7 set. You can see how clear that one is in parts, and then the other side. I really like these ones. I think these might be going down in my sort of favourite sets of dice, although it's still this weird thing where the sides don't add up properly. Oh, that one does. 0, 9. Nope, that one doesn't. 12. No, it should be a 1. I'll not get used to these. I've been told in the comments on my last Dungeons & Dragons Adventurer video that these are counting dice, where you can easily count. So it's 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So you can use them to keep track of a number, which is fairly nice, but I really don't get it. But anyway, nice tin. Onto the magazine. So, in this issue, it's back to being a kind of lighter one. It's not as thick as the last issue I got, which was issue 30, I think it was. We've got a section on mounts and vehicles. A nice start. But really all it is some tables with cost, speed and capacity of different types of mounts, water vehicles, tack and harness, and land vehicles. I'm not terribly impressed with that. I would have liked more information. And we've got a section on runes. What are runes? Encountering runes. Again, not much information. We're continuing with the bardic colleges. So this time we've got other colleges: the College of Creation, the College of Valor, the College of Eloquence. Persuasion is regarded as a high art by those who join the College of Eloquence. A well-reasoned, well-spoken argument can provide more persuasive than the facts. Now, I really like that. I've been playing a bard fairly recently who was a speaker, somebody who changed the world through their words rather than through song. And carrying on with the other classes, so we've got the Barbarian Path of the Totem Warrior. And it goes through all the Rage of the Wild. So we've got the Bear Totem, where it mentions when raging they have resistance, half the damage, rolling down to all damage types except psychic damage. Eagle, elk, tiger, wolf. Got other paths of barbarians. So the Path of the Berserker, the Path of the Ancestral Guardian, Path of the Zealot, Path of the Battle Rager, and the Path of Wild Magic. Then we've got detailed on the Paladin Oath of Conquest. There are Emissaries of Peace, and then there are the Knight's Tyrant. Tenets of Conquest, Oath Benefits, Role-Playing an Oath of Conquest Paladin. And the monster in this issue is Oozes. So, brief description of them, slimy characters, and then it's Know Your Ooze, a grey ooze, black puddings, and the most famous, a gelatinous cube, which I totally agree with. Now, again, they're doing parts, and I notice up here it says Adventure 3 Part 2. So they're continuing to do longer stories spread across issues, which I'm a massive fan of. Obviously, I'm not picking up every issue, I'm just picking up the ones. First and third parts are presented in D&D Adventurer 31 and 33. So I missed the first part, and I doubt I'll pick up the last part. But this part of the adventure is fairly straightforward. We've got the Temple of Sekala. And basically you're going into it and you're rescuing a priestess. The figure here is a Sahagwin priestess named Keldrix. See page 214 for stats. Imprisoned here by her fellow priestesses, she looks up and becomes aware of the characters, asking them in the common language to free her. She shares the following information. Several priestesses have been lured away. Promises dependent on the priestesses destroying the artifact found in the wreck of the ship called the Devil's Dew. Sekala does not outright prohibit dealing with other powerful deities. Keldrix believes immortality defiles the cycle of life and death, and it will undermine their teachings by turning the Sahagwin from apex predators into lazy tyrants. In exchange for her freedom, she offers to show the characters a secret passage that leads to the chute to level 3. The sleeping quarters, priestesses' quarters, shark-infested cavern, hunter shark lair, secret tunnel. Now, these monsters do seem very similar to the last issue I looked, because there was Hunter Shark in that, lots of Sahagwin, so they seem to be sticking to the same monster at the moment, which makes a bunch of sense across one adventure. But I believe the last issue I had was a different adventure. And we've got stat blocks for the Hunter Shark, the Reef Shark, and lovely detailed stats of the gelatinous cube. Discussion here about resting in the dungeon. The Sahagwin priestess. She's got mass healing word, tongues, other spells, and a potion of animal friendship. Now, as I said, this feels a lot lighter. There's not as much in it. These sections aren't as detailed, where the last issue I looked at had really detailed rules for chases, which I thought was fantastic. It spent 6 pages detailing chases, whereas in this one, mounts and vehicles get 1 page, or 2 pages rather. It's not much. Runes, I can't see the purpose in that. It's so basic. And obviously we're carrying on with the different classes as we're leveling up. So the magazine itself is a little naff this week. The details of the adventure, I can see that being quite useful. It's fairly straightforward, but as part of another dungeon, as you're going down the levels, fair enough. But I do like these dice. As I said, I think these might be my favourite set of dice out of all the ones I've got over the years. I really like the look of these. Just a little weird, the counting scheme on them. 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7. Where's the 6? 6. No, that's 9 again. Where's the 6? It doesn't have the 6 next to it. That counting doesn't work. So that was Dungeons & Dragons Adventurer issue number 32. And while I like those dice, it's really obvious I liked those dice. The magazine itself, not great this time. The content isn't much. I really found it lacking, especially after the last couple of issues I picked up, which were so outstanding. They had really good adventures, they had really good source material. The last issue with all the stuff about chases was absolutely brilliant, but this issue's very lackluster. I'm not that impressed by it at all. The adventure's alright, but it's one level out of a multi-level dungeon, so you would really need the other issues to make the most of it, except you've got some stats for some monsters, especially introducing gelatinous cubes, which is really quite nice, because that's an important or a popular monster in Dungeons and Dragons. So being introduced to that's a really cool thing. But the rest of it, worth £9? I don't really think so. If I hadn't found it on the shelf of my local shop, I definitely wouldn't have hunted this one down. And that's the way of things. The series will continue or it won't, depending on whether I walk down to my local shop and I find more issues of this magazine. What I'm starting to wonder is whether I should try out the tabletop gaming magazine, because apparently it does have some role-playing content in it. But again, it's quite expensive and it doesn't really have anything like dice. Even though Dungeons & Dragons Adventure is always dice, Tabletop Gaming Magazine doesn't really offer you anything extra. I believe it had a miniature on one issue I saw many months ago, but the recent issue I never saw anything to make it worthwhile the very high cover price, although it is a much heavier magazine. It's about 100 or so pages long. So perhaps the content in there, but it's bagged, so I can't flick through it and rate it for myself. But anyway, as usual, I think I've whittled on for quite long enough, so thank you very much for watching. But as always, most of all, you look after yourselves, and I'll catch you later. Bye now.